Okay, so in this video, I'm going to go through and continue to show you step by step how to do some more basic things with these parts. And then we'll move on in the next couple videos into doing more complex things and using things in the modify area, such as making a hole, using the fillet tool around edges, using draft to actually take an edge and pull it out at a certain angle. I'll show you how to shell, chamfer, thread, etc. So in this video, we're going to go through and we're going to do a few more things with Extrude. I'm also going to show you how to revolve an object. And then I will go in and show you how to sweep. Okay? So, right here, I built a cube. And we're going to use the Extrude tool again. But this time, we're going to make a hole with the extrusion. So to do that, you're going to do a sketch again. So when you want to make another sketch after you've made your original part, what you do is you select a face. Now, I will tell you that if you have a perfectly spherical object, you can't do that. What you have to do is you have to use a plane tool, but we'll get onto that in another video. But as long as you have a flat surface, you can use this. So we'll select this surface. So what it does is use the same grid system, and now we're drawing on this surface of the cube. Now this time, I'm going to do a circle. So, like before, it'll snap to the exact center if you want it to. We'll pull out, and this time we'll just click. And since I didn't show you this last time completely, like I said, if you pull this out and you click, you have your dimension, and now you can edit it. So now I've actually shown you completely how to dimension a circle. And we'll just make this 0.5. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to take this circle and we want to extrude it into the object. But we don't want to add material, we want to actually cut it away so we have a hole there. So what we can do is we'll finish the sketch and we want to extrude again. And see, remember how I told you last time how I won't always select it? Now since we have two surfaces here, we can do one of two things. If you wanted to, we could extrude this out and it would extrude everything but the center. But we don't want it to do that, so we'll just say cancel. What we want to do is we want to extrude this centerpiece. Now if we did it now, we would get this cylinder coming out of the cube. What we want to do is we want to cut into it. So we'll use that tool to change the direction. Now luckily Inventor is smart enough and it knows that if you change the direction and you're changing the direction into a material that's already there, you're going to want to cut it away. And that's what this is right here. This is your cut and this is your join. Now joining is also basically adding material. So let's say I wanted to make it so that this extruded up, but it also extruded down into another part. It would put the two parts together. And then intersect is just when you want two parts to intersect, but you maybe want to get rid of a bit of material at the same time. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut through this material. And another thing that's nice is you don't have to make it perfect. Like if you extrude farther than the part exists, and you're cutting away, you don't have to worry about it giving you an error message. And then of course if you didn't want to go all the way through, you could just change this distance and it would only go, halfway through, whatever you wanted. So we'll say okay. So now we have this nice little cube with a hole in it. What I will show you though, just because I already have the two parts open, we will do one thing from the modify section, and that's thread. So let's say this was going to be a screw hole. What you can do is you can select this. So you're saying you want to thread this cylinder and you want to thread the whole length. If you unclick this, you can actually specify what you want to do. Like you could offset at 0.1. So now it's not gonna, it'll basically thread after 0.1 inches. So it would start threading here. And then you would say you want to continue to thread for this length. But anyways, we're going to do just the full length. Another thing you can do is specification. So if you really wanted to get exact and you wanted to set it to a specific type of thread for a specific type of screw, you can go in here and change that. So now this is threaded. Okay. Now what you can do is that threads the inside, but threading the outside of an object is the same way. This is the cylinder from the other video. Now if we wanted to thread the outside of this, you just select the outside. I mean, it's that easy. It's a very simple tool. That's why I'm showing you it now, because, it doesn't really matter that if I wait to the next video. and then apply, and then you got that. So the next thing I'm going to show you is Revolve. Now Revolve is really nice because it gives you a little bit more power than just simple extrusion. So once again, we're going to make a new part, standard inch IPT, and here we go. Now, the easiest example of Revolve, why it's useful, is a sphere. So if you wanted to make a perfect sphere, what you could do is you could take this circle, you could say you want it to be 1 inch, now you got a 1 inch circle. And then all you got to do is take this line, make a line directly down the center so the circle's cut in half. Okay? Now the next thing you're going to do is you're going to use a tool called Trim, which is right here. What Trim allows you to do is it allows you to get rid of extra lines that you don't need. Now we don't need this side anymore. So as you can see, when you highlight it, it's intelligent. It knows that you want to get rid of this line until it intersects with this line right here. So if we click here, voila, that line's gone. It's still 1 inch because you still want to have that arc to be a 1 inch arc. Well, actually a ½ inch radius, and you have this line. So now when we want to make our perfect sphere, we just say finish this, and now we have this kind of like half moon shape. And we're going to use this tool called Revolve. Now once again, it automatically selects, and we want it to extent is full, meaning we want it to fully rotate. You can also specify to like a certain angle. Like let's say we only want it to do 90, so we want it to be like a piece of fruit. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select the axis. So we're saying we want to revolve this sketch around this axis. Okay? And now see, it revolves at 90, and you get like basically a piece of fruit. Or, you know, the two in between. I discussed that before with the extrude. Or you can say full. And when we say OK, now you have this perfect sphere. Now that's probably the easiest reason why you would use Revolve. But another thing you can do is you can actually make, let's say you wanted to make a cup. Well, if you wanted to make a cup or a bowl and you wanted to extrude it, it'd be a lot more difficult. You'd have to use draft to get the edges to come out, you know, to a bigger diameter from the bottom part of the cup to the top part of the cup, and then you'd have to shell it. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to modify this and go back to it, and we'll make something different. Now what you can do is you can use these arrows, and it basically undoes what you just previously did, which is very useful because if you make a mistake, you're like, oh crap. And the nice thing is it'll go back like way back. You can undo all the way back to the beginning. So we're going to modify this again. This time we're going to go from the center point, we're going to click to here, and then we're going to trim off this whole top section right here. Okay? So now we have kind of like this little piece of pizza. Now if we wanted to make this into a bowl, what we could do is we want to make the bottom flat. So we won't do any specific dimensions, we'll just make it look right. So we'll just click here, and we'll trim again. And now we have basically the top and the bottom of the bowl. Well, we also need it to be hollow. So what we can do to do that is we'll just manually make a little rim here. So, we'll go to right here. And, like I said, I'm just guessing, I'm not making this perfect. And we'll go to right here. It's not the most beautiful bowl in the world, but you can get kind of the basic idea. And trim again. So now, let's say, what I'm showing you here is, let's say you had a bowl and you chopped it right in half without shattering. This is what you would see from a section view. This would be the wall, and this would be the bottom, and this is the space, in between where there's material. So now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to finish the sketch. We're going to go, and we're going to say revolve. We're going to say we want to revolve this sketch, and we want to revolve it around this axis, and there you go. So now it's taking that new sketch we made and it's revolving it all the way around. And while doing that, it makes this shape. And when we hit done, look, you have this nice, perfect bowl. You got a flat bottom, flat top, and it's hollow. And that's way faster than if you would have tried to go through and make it from scratch using just the extrusion tool along with draft and a few other modify features. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is sweep. So to do sweep, We got to make a new part. Now what sweep does is you're basically saying you want to take an object and you want to make it so you'll make a sphere. So let's just do this. We'll make like a wire, let's say. So we want this pole or wire to be 1 inch in diameter. So this is saying we want to take this circle, just like you would do with Extrude, and we want to extrude it up. But we don't want it to just go straight like it would be a cylinder. We want it to curve. And that's what the whole that's what this feature called sweep does. So the next thing we got to do is we got to make another basically another sketch so that the line goes right here from the center. So that's where this plane tool comes in. And we got to say we want this plane tool. Oh, so you know what? We'll just make it easier. You don't need the plane tool because we have this thing right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, oh crap, sorry, I got to get rid of this plane now. So what we want to do is we want to select this plane. This plane is perpendicular to our original sketch. If we right click it, we can say new sketch. So now we're saying that we want to sketch perpendicular to our original sketch. And what we can do is we'll just say we want to make a line again. So we go from the center, which would be the center point of that circle as well, and we'll just sketch up from there. So let's say we want to go 1 inch this way, and then we want it to curve and go, you know, at this angle in this direction, and then we want it to go up again that far. And you can get really, really fancy with this. You can use the spline tool, which we'll use later, and you can get some really cool angles. And I mean, as long as you don't go overboard on the angle you're trying to make, you can get this cylinder to make any shape you really want. So what we're going to do now is we're going to finish this sketch, and we'll get a better view on it, and we're going to go through and we're going to say we want to use the spline. To make it more visible, since I didn't make that very long, we're going to edit this. We're going to say we only want it to be 0.25 inches. That way it's smaller. That way you'll be able to see these curves a lot better. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we use the sweep. So we're going to select the profile, which luckily it already is for us. We're saying we want to take this circle and we want to extrude it along this path. So now it's saying select the path, which is that. And see, now it's taking that circle and it's extruding it along the path. This is really useful when you're trying to make piping, or maybe you're trying to make wire. When you make complex assemblies of multiple parts, and let's say you build a brewery, because that's got a lot of piping in it. You need to connect the different tanks with the piping, but not always can you make the pipe just straight. You got to turn it and stuff. So to make it really simple on yourself, rather than doing a lot of different extrusions, you can just use this sweep technique. So once we say okay, there you go. Now you got your pipe. And that's about it for today. In the next episode, we'll go through how to make a hole. It's similar to the way we did it with the extrusion technique, but it's basically a whole lot faster if you're just making a circular hole. We'll also go into how to fill it, how to round your edges to make your part look more fancy. Chamfer is basically taking like a straight edge, like if you were just using a sanding piece of sandpaper, or grinding it down to make it flat. I'll also show you how to shell an object, which is really, really nice when you're trying to use like square tubing. And we might even go in and do a little bit of drafting. So that's it for today. Like I said before, if you have any questions or you want me to make a video that I have not yet made, leave a message in the comment below and I'll get back to you. And as always, like and subscribe. Thank you.